The Calera, an observation vessel of the Zerati Ecological Preservation Union, floated silently in Earth's orbit. Its translucent hull reflected the blue-green swirl of the planet below, a stark contrast to the barren worlds the Zerati considered hospitable. To them, Earth was a certified Class 7 death world, brimming with uncontrollable forces, hazardous creatures, and an ecosystem that constantly waged war against itself. Dr. Heschel, the mission leader, scanned the holographic display with unease. Data streams flickered, detailing Earth's chaotic weather patterns, predatory megafauna, and dense forests teeming with unknown dangers. He glanced at his junior researcher, Yalik, whose frills trembled in nervous anticipation. "Explain this madness," Heschel said, gesturing to the hologram. "How have humans survived this long? Their world should have devoured them by now." Yalik hesitated. Preliminary data suggests humans possess an unparalleled adaptability to their environment. They interact with creatures and ecosystems that would annihilate most sentient species. Heschel flicked a segment of the hologram, zooming in on a dense forest. Towering trees stretched high into the sky, their thick canopies casting dark, impenetrable shadows. To the Zerati, the concept of something so massive and uncontrollable was horrifying. Trees on Zerathian worlds were stunted, harmless organisms carefully monitored to prevent overgrowth. "Look at these organisms," Heschel exclaimed. "Their height, their density, their autonomy. They are not mere plants, they are predatory titans. And humans willingly walk among them." Yalik tapped at his console, pulling up live feeds of human settlements. The display showed a bustling city lined with sidewalks and public parks filled with trees. He paused the feed, zooming in on one scene. A group of humans sitting casually beneath a towering oak. "It's not just interaction, Dr. Heschel," Yalik said, his voice trembling with disbelief. "They don't just tolerate these deathwood monstrosities. They've incorporated them into their lives. Observe." The feed shifted to a suburban neighborhood. A man stood in his driveway, sawing branches off a large pine tree with casual ease. Another human emerged from a nearby house, carrying a smaller tree inside as though it were no more threatening than a piece of furniture. Heschel recoiled, his frills flaring in alarm. "Inside? They bring these things into their homes." Yalik nodded grimly. "Yes. Our preliminary data suggests this practice peaks during a specific seasonal ritual. Humans select these trees, bring them indoors, and..." He hesitated, searching for the right words. "Decorate them. Decorate." They attach objects to the tree. Lights, reflective spheres, ribbons. Heschel paced, his frills twitching with agitation. "This is madness. Trees are resource-intensive organisms that dominate their environment through aggressive expansion and chemical warfare. What if the humans are subjugating these creatures as a display of dominance?" "That could explain the lights and ornaments," Yalik agreed. "Perhaps they serve to neutralize the tree's threat. Confuse it, pacify it, maybe even mock it." Heschel's holographic display chimed, pulling up a new dataset. It showed volatile organic compounds released by coniferous trees, what humans referred to as the pine scent. "These organisms emit toxins," Heschel declared. "The humans are willingly exposing themselves to airborne chemical warfare." "Why?" Before Yalik could respond, another feed began to play. It showed a family gathered around an indoor tree, its branches adorned with twinkling lights and glittering ornaments. The humans were laughing, exchanging brightly wrapped packages beneath the tree's looming shadow. "Observe," Yalik whispered. "Despite the danger, these humans are celebrating. They seem to derive pleasure from proximity to this threat." Heschel's frills stiffened. "This goes beyond mere dominance. There's something ritualistic about this behavior." He paused, considering the implications. "We need more information. Deploy observation drones immediately. I want to understand what drives this reckless species." Within moments, sleek, insect-like drones were dispatched, descending through Earth's atmosphere undetected. Their mission was clear: infiltrate human settlements, gather data on the bizarre practice of tree worship, and return safely. As the drones integrated into suburban neighborhoods, their tiny cameras captured even more baffling scenes. Humans were not only coexisting with trees but actively nurturing them, watering saplings, trimming branches, and planting seeds. To the Zerati, this was akin to taming a natural disaster. One drone followed a family into their living room, where a massive pine tree dominated the space. Strings of glowing lights snaked through its branches, and colorful ornaments dangled from every limb. Beneath the tree, a pile of carefully arranged packages sat in neat rows. The family laughed and chatted as they placed a glittering star atop the tree's apex, completing their work. The room glowed warmly, the humans radiating contentment. Heshrel watched the feed in stunned silence. "They're not just coexisting with these creatures," he murmured. "They've forged a connection. But why? What purpose does this serve?" Yalik tilted his head. "Perhaps it's a survival mechanism, a way to turn their fears into something manageable. If they can live with the trees, perhaps they feel they can survive anything. Or," Heshrel countered, "they've gone completely mad." The chapter ends as Heshrel issues a new directive: infiltrate deeper into human culture and uncover the truth behind humanity's dangerous bond with the towering giants of their world. Chapter summary. This chapter introduces the alien perspective, highlighting their fear of Earth's ecosystems and confusion over humanity's relationship with trees. It sets up the central conflict, understanding why humans bring dangerous trees into their homes. The narrative blends humor and awe to create a compelling start. The Zerati drones settled into their observation points within the suburban neighborhood, their sleek forms blending seamlessly into human environments. From lampposts, rooftops, and even the branches of nearby trees, the drones silently recorded the puzzling human behaviors surrounding the strange ritual involving indoor trees. One drone, designated Unit X-17, focused on a specific household, the Henderson family. Inside, a towering pine tree stood proudly in the living room, its branches heavy with glittering ornaments and strings of colorful lights. Around it, the family bustled with activity. "Look at them," Dr. Heshrel muttered from aboard the Calera, his frills twitching as he watched the live feed. "They move around the tree without hesitation, as if oblivious to the potential dangers." The youngest member of the family, a boy of about 7 years, approached the tree with a sparkling ornament in hand. He leaned close, balancing on tiptoe, and hung the bauble on a branch. The tree quivered slightly from the movement, but the boy laughed and patted it as though it were a pet. "This child," Heshrel said, his tone incredulous. "He displays no fear. It's as if they've conditioned themselves to ignore the threat entirely." Junior researcher Yalik analyzed the footage closely, noting the human's body language and expressions. They appear joyous. This act seems to bring them pleasure, despite the apparent risk. Unit X-17 sensors detected faint chemical compounds emanating from the tree, volatile organic compounds released by the pine needles. Yalik flagged the data. "Dr. Heshrel, the tree is actively releasing airborne chemicals. Based on preliminary scans, these compounds could irritate respiratory systems or trigger allergic reactions. And yet, the humans seem unconcerned." "Fascinating," Heshrel replied, his frills lifting in a gesture of intellectual intrigue. "Are they immune to these effects? Or do they willingly endure them for the sake of this ritual?" The drone observed as the father of the family adjusted a string of lights, carefully ensuring the entire tree was illuminated. The mother placed wrapped packages beneath the tree, while the boy continued adding ornaments. The family then stepped back, admiring their work with broad smiles. "What purpose does this serve?" Heshrel wondered aloud. "The humans expend considerable effort on this task. It is neither a practical use of resources nor a logical survival mechanism." Yalik tilted his head thoughtfully. "Perhaps it is symbolic, an assertion of control over nature. By decorating the tree, they neutralize its threat and transform it into something manageable. Perhaps even comforting." The family began singing together, a cheerful melody that filled the room. The lyrics were indecipherable to the Zerati, but the tone conveyed warmth and unity. "This is no mere survival strategy," Heshrel said after a moment of silence. There is an emotional component at play. These humans have forged a connection with this organism, one that transcends logic. As the Hendersons turned off the overhead lights, leaving only the tree's glow to illuminate the room, Heschel issued a directive to the drones. Continue observations. We need to understand the full scope of this ritual. Why do these humans risk so much for these Deathworld giants? There must be a deeper purpose. From their hidden vantage points, the drones watched as the family settled into the living room, sharing laughter and stories beneath the glowing tree. For the Zerati, this behavior was as baffling as it was fascinating. The humans weren't merely coexisting with a dangerous organism. They were welcoming it into their lives as part of something far greater. The chapter closes with the drones preparing for deeper infiltration, their curiosity and confusion growing with every passing moment. Chapter Summary. This chapter details the Zerati's first close observations of a human family interacting with an indoor tree. The aliens begin to understand the emotional significance of the ritual but remain perplexed by the apparent illogicality of the practice. It sets up the next stage of their investigation. Unit X-17 perched discreetly on a bookshelf in the Henderson family's living room, its micro-cameras capturing every detail of the humans' baffling ritual. The tree, now fully decorated with twinkling lights and dangling ornaments, stood at the center of the room like a triumphant monolith. To the Zerati aboard the Calera, this display was as mystifying as it was unsettling. Dr. Heschel's frills twitched in agitation as he watched the live feed. It's been hours, and they remain near the organism, completely unguarded. Have we detected any hostile behavior from the tree? No overt aggression yet, junior researcher Yalik replied, analyzing the chemical readings. However, its volatile compound emissions have increased. Perhaps the lights and ornaments are inciting it. Before Heschel could respond, an anomaly occurred on the feed. One of the glowing ornaments near the top of the tree slipped loose and fell, shattering on the floor. The sound startled the youngest human, who cried out, his small hands clutching the nearest adult for reassurance. "This is it," Heschel exclaimed, his frills flaring. "The tree has begun its counterattack." Unit X-17, acting on its automated directive to protect its observers, moved toward the fallen ornament to analyze the situation. Its small propulsion system activated, causing a faint hum as it glided through the air. Unfortunately, the sudden movement disrupted the tree's precarious balance. The vibrations caused another ornament to fall, then another, each one adding to the growing chaos. The tree tilted dangerously to one side, and before the Hendersons could react, it toppled over completely. From the human's perspective, the scene was a comical disaster. The father scrambled to catch the tree, his arms tangling in the string of lights, while the mother tried to shield the boy from the falling ornaments. Laughter mixed with exclamations of frustration as the family worked together to lift the tree back into place. From the Zerati's perspective, however, it was a catastrophic escalation. "Violence confirmed," Heschel declared, his voice rising in alarm. "The organism is retaliating, and yet, the humans are laughing." On the feed, the family's laughter grew as they righted the tree and began cleaning up the mess. The father joked about needing better anchoring next year, while the boy giggled at the tangle of lights around his dad. The atmosphere, far from fearful, was one of joy and camaraderie. "This behavior defies logic," Yalik murmured. "They should be retreating or defending themselves. Yet they treat the incident as trivial." Heschel's frills flattened as he tried to process the scene. Perhaps this is their method of asserting dominance. By laughing in the face of danger, they undermine the organism's power. Unit X-17 sensors recorded the humans carefully restoring the tree, their movements deliberate but unhurried. When they finished, the family stepped back, admiring their work once again. The boy placed the final ornament, a sparkling star, at the top, and they clapped together in celebration. "This warrants deeper analysis," Heschel said finally. "These humans are not simply surviving on this death world. They are thriving in ways that defy every survival instinct we understand." The chapter ends with the Zerati's growing realization. Humanity's relationship with their environment is not one of fear, but of balance and resilience, a concept entirely alien to the cautious Zerati worldview. Chapter Summary. The tree topples, creating chaos in the Henderson household, but the humans respond with laughter and teamwork rather than fear. This incident deepens the Zerati's confusion and admiration, setting up their eventual epiphany about humanity's unique adaptability. From its perch on the bookshelf, Unit X-17 adjusted its sensors to capture every detail of the Henderson family's strange ritual. The decorated tree, now upright again, glowed warmly in the dimly lit room. The humans gathered around it, sipping steaming beverages and laughing, their earlier mishap already forgotten. On the caldera, Dr. Heschel and junior researcher Yalik watched in bewilderment. "They are completely at ease," Heschel murmured. After the organism's clear act of defiance, they continue to celebrate. "How can they be so fearless?" Yalik tilted his head thoughtfully. "Perhaps they do not perceive the tree as a threat because they have fully mastered their environment. It's possible that this ritual symbolizes their dominance over nature itself." The humans began opening the brightly wrapped packages under the tree. The boy tore into his gifts with unrestrained excitement, pulling out toys and showing them off to his parents. The family's laughter and joy filled the room. "This is not merely survival," Yalik said after a pause. "They derive pleasure from this ritual. There is an emotional depth here that we've underestimated." Heschel narrowed his eyes. "It's still illogical. Why would a sentient species expend resources and risk chemical exposure for such frivolities?" As if in response to his question, Unit X-17's microphone picked up the father's voice. "This is why I love Christmas," the man said, smiling as he placed a hand on the boy's shoulder. "It's not about the gifts or the tree. It's about being together as a family. That's what matters." The Zerati froze in stunned silence. "Togetherness?" Heschel echoed, his frills stiffening. "They prioritize social bonding, even over personal safety?" Yalik's frills fluttered in excitement as the pieces began to fall into place. "That must be it. The tree is not the focus of the ritual. It is a symbol, a centerpiece for fostering unity and shared experience. These humans have weaponized their social structures to survive and thrive in an environment as hostile as this death world." Heschel frowned, still skeptical. "Even if true, it does not explain their willingness to bring a potentially dangerous organism into their homes. Why risk this particular symbol?" The mother's voice broke through the feed, as if answering his doubts. "Remember, we're lucky to have this tree. It's a part of nature, and we're giving it a second life. We should be grateful for what it provides." The words hung in the air as the Zerati processed their meaning. "They are not merely dominating their environment," Yalik said softly. "They are celebrating it, honoring it. This is not fear. They coexist with these organisms out of respect and gratitude." Heschel leaned back, his frills flattening in reluctant awe. A species that can thrive on a death world by balancing power, adaptability, and emotional bonds is truly formidable. The family's celebration continued, unaware of their alien observers. As the boy placed a holographic ornament on the tree, a family tradition representing peace and goodwill, Unit X-17 transmitted a final image back to the caldera. "This species is unlike any other we've encountered," Heschel concluded. "Their resilience and connection to their world make them not just survivors, but apex beings in a delicate ecosystem. We have much to learn from them." The Zerati withdrew their drones, leaving Earth's orbit with a newfound respect for humanity. On board the caldera, Heschel and Yalik filed their final report, summarizing their findings with a single phrase: "Humans are not masters of nature. They are its stewards." Chapter Summary. The Zerati finally understand the deeper meaning behind humanity's rituals, realizing that humans thrive not through domination, but through coexistence and emotional connection. This epiphany highlights humanity's unique strength as a death world species, leaving the aliens in awe